What if grocery stores emptied overnight? What if water stopped flowing from your tap? I'm standing in front of a $5,000 investment that secured a complete 2-year survival supply for my family. And today, I'm going to show you everything inside. Over the next few minutes, you'll discover the exact breakdown of a fully stocked prepper pantry that can sustain you through any crisis. I'll walk you through proven water purification systems that work when infrastructure completely fails. You'll see the step-by-step process I used to build this from scratch, and I'll share the biggest mistakes that could waste thousands of your dollars if you're not careful. You're watching Essential Pantry, where we transform uncertainty into confidence. If you're serious about protecting your family's future, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what you're about to see could mean the difference between thriving and barely surviving when crisis hits. And make sure you watch until the end, where I reveal the one supply most preppers forget that could save your life. Let me take you back to where this all started. I was standing in this room looking at old, rickety shelving that couldn't hold more than a few dozen cans without bowing in the middle. I knew that if I was going to do this right, if I was going to create a legitimate 2-year food supply, I needed to start from the ground up. The first step was gutting everything. I removed all the old shelving units, and I mean everything. This wasn't just about making space, it was about creating a blank canvas where I could design something purpose-built for survival storage. Once the room was empty, I grabbed paint and a roller. Now you might think painting is just cosmetic, but there's strategy here. Light-colored paint makes it easier to see what you're reaching for in low-light situations. It also helps you spot any moisture problems, pests, or issues with your stored goods before they become disasters. Then came the shelving installation, and this is where most people make their first critical mistake. They go to a big box store and grab whatever shelving looks sturdy enough. But here's what they don't consider. We're not storing photo albums and holiday decorations. We're storing hundreds of pounds of canned goods, water containers, and bulk supplies. I installed heavy-duty shelving units specifically rated for this kind of weight. Each shelf can handle several hundred pounds without even a hint of sagging. The units are anchored properly, and the design maximizes every square inch of vertical space. This custom setup allows me to organize supplies by category and access frequency. The things I rotate through regularly are at eye level. Long-term storage items are higher up. Emergency access items are within arm's reach. It's not just about storing food. It's about creating a system that works when you're stressed, possibly in the dark, and need something immediately. Now let's talk about the investment itself. $5,000 sounds like a lot of money, and it is. But when you break it down, you're looking at roughly $7 a day to feed yourself for 2 full years. That's less than a single fast food meal. And unlike that burger, this investment doesn't disappear. It's there, waiting, ready to sustain you when everything else fails. The philosophy I followed was simple. Focus on food that's ready to eat or requires minimal preparation. Why? Because in a real emergency, you might not have power, you might not have gas, you might not even have clean water for cooking. Every item in this pantry was chosen with that reality in mind. Canned goods you can eat straight from the can, freeze-dried meals that only need water, nuts and dried fruits that provide instant nutrition and energy. I divided the budget strategically. About 60% went to food, the bulk staples, the proteins, the variety needed to prevent food fatigue over months or years. 25% went to water storage and purification systems, because you can survive weeks without food, but only days without water. The remaining 15% covered medical supplies, toiletries, and household necessities that you absolutely cannot go without. The shelving I installed isn't just strong, it's engineered for this specific purpose. Each unit is braced against the wall and the weight is distributed evenly. I've stress tested these shelves with nearly maximum capacity, and there's zero movement, zero flex. When you're storing this much weight, structural integrity isn't optional. A collapsed shelf doesn't just mean lost food, it means wasted money, potential injury, and destroyed supplies in the moment you need them most. Now let me show you what's actually stocked in here, starting with the everyday staples that form the foundation of this survival pantry. First up is instant coffee. Now I know some people might think coffee is a luxury item, but let me tell you, in a long-term emergency situation, maintaining some normalcy and morale is crucial. Caffeine also helps with alertness and energy when you're dealing with high-stress situations. I've got multiple jars stored here, and instant coffee has an incredible shelf life when stored properly, in a cool, dry place. Moving along the shelves, you'll see rows and rows of canned goods. We're talking vegetables, fruits, beans, soups, stews, and proteins like tuna and chicken. Canned food is the backbone of any prepper pantry for good reason. The shelf life extends years beyond the printed date if stored correctly. No refrigeration needed, no cooking required if you're in a pinch. You can literally open a can and eat. But here's something most people overlook: variety. If you stock nothing but beans and rice, sure, you'll survive, but after a few weeks of the same meals, you'll be miserable. Mental health matters in survival situations.
So I've made sure there's diversity here. Different proteins, different vegetables, different flavors and textures. Next, let's talk about nutritional powerhouses. See these containers? Nuts, almonds, cashews, walnuts, peanuts. These are calorie-dense, packed with protein and healthy fats, and they store for months or even years when kept in airtight containers. A handful of nuts provides sustained energy, unlike simple carbohydrates that burn fast and leave you hungry again. Right next to the nuts, I've got nut butters, peanut butter, almond butter. These are survival gold. High in calories, high in protein, no refrigeration needed even after opening, and they last practically forever. You can eat them straight from the jar, spread them on crackers, or mix them into other foods for added nutrition. Dried fruits are another critical component. These provide natural sugars for quick energy, vitamins, and fiber. I've got raisins, cranberries, apricots, and more. They're shelf-stable for extended periods, and they satisfy that craving for something sweet without relying on processed sugar that might not be available. Here's the key with food storage. You're not just buying calories, you're buying nutrition, variety, and the psychological comfort of having real food. I've seen preppers who stock up on nothing but rice and beans, and while that'll keep you alive, it won't keep you healthy or sane over a 2-year period. Now let's move to something equally important but often neglected until it's too late: medical and health supplies. This section right here contains pain relievers: ibuprofen, acetaminophen, aspirin. In an emergency, you might be doing heavy physical labor, dealing with injuries, or managing chronic pain without access to a doctor. These over-the-counter medications become invaluable. I've got a comprehensive first aid setup: bandages, gauze, medical tape, antiseptic wipes, antibiotic ointments, and wound care supplies. Cuts, burns, and injuries don't stop happening during emergencies. In fact, they might happen more frequently when you're doing unfamiliar tasks or working in compromised conditions. Toiletries take up this entire section: toilet paper, soap, toothpaste, toothbrushes, shampoo, feminine hygiene products. These aren't luxuries. These are necessities for maintaining health and preventing disease. Poor hygiene in an extended emergency leads to infections, illness, and morale problems. The philosophy here is the same as with food. Prepare for reality, not just survival. Yes, you can survive without toothpaste, but over 2 years, dental problems from poor hygiene could become serious health issues with no dentist available. I've also included prescription medication backups where possible, vitamins and supplements to cover nutritional gaps, and specific items for family members with unique health needs. This is personal. Your medical supplies should reflect your family's actual health requirements. Here's what most people don't think about: having these supplies on hand means you become a resource for yourself and potentially for others. When everyone is panicking and pharmacies are emptied or closed, you have what you need right here. Now let's talk about organization, because having supplies means nothing if you can't find them when you need them. Every single item in this pantry is labeled with its expiration date in bold marker. I don't rely on the tiny printed dates that are hard to read in low light. I write the month and year clearly on the front of each container, can, or package. This makes rotation simple: first in, first out. That's the rule. I use clear plastic bins extensively. Why? Because I can see exactly what's inside without opening them. In an emergency, you don't want to waste time or energy searching through opaque containers. These bins are also stackable, which maximizes vertical space and keeps similar items grouped together. Categories are clearly defined: all breakfast items in one area, dinner proteins together, snacks in their own section, medical supplies completely separate from food. This systematic approach means anyone in the family can find what they need even if I'm not available to help. I also maintain an inventory list, a simple spreadsheet that tracks what I have, quantities, and expiration dates. Every few months I review this list and rotate stock. Items approaching expiration get moved to the front and used first, then replaced with fresh stock. This rotation system ensures nothing goes to waste and everything stays fresh. The shelving itself contributes to organization. Heavier items on lower shelves for stability and safety, lighter items up high, frequently accessed items at eye level and within easy reach, emergency grab-and-go items near the door. This isn't just about being neat. This is about functionality under pressure. When you're tired, stressed, or dealing with a crisis, you need a system that's intuitive and foolproof. Now we come to the most critical element of any survival preparation: water. You can stretch food for weeks if necessary, but water is non-negotiable. Your body needs it every day, and in an emergency, clean water is often the first thing that disappears. Let me show you my water storage system. These containers you see here, they're repurposed juice containers. Before you judge that choice, hear me out. These are food-grade plastic containers that originally held juice, which means they're designed to safely store liquids for consumption. After the juice was consumed, I thoroughly cleaned and sanitized each container. Then I filled them with tap water. The key is proper preparation. I rinsed each container multiple times, used a diluted bleach solution to sanitize, rinsed again thoroughly, and then filled them with water. I added just a tiny bit of unscented bleach to each container for long-term preservation. We're talking a few drops per gallon.
This prevents bacterial growth and keeps the water safe for years. Why juice containers instead of expensive water storage tanks? Because I'm maximizing my budget. Those 5-gallon water jugs you see at stores are great, but they're expensive. These repurposed containers cost me nothing except the time to clean them, and they hold just as much water just as safely. I've calculated water needs based on the standard recommendation: 1 gallon per person per day. That covers drinking, basic hygiene, and food preparation. For a 2-year supply, that's a massive amount of water. These containers are my baseline supply, but I'm not relying solely on stored water. That brings me to this, my Berkey water filter system. This is the gold standard for water purification, and it's the piece of equipment I consider absolutely non-negotiable. Here's why the Berkey is worth every penny. It removes virtually all contaminants from water. Bacteria, viruses, parasites, chemicals, heavy metals. This system filters them out. That means I can take water from a creek, from collected rainwater, from any source, run it through this filter, and have safe drinking water. In a long-term emergency, your stored water will eventually run out. But natural water sources, rain, streams, ponds, those keep flowing. The Berkey gives me unlimited access to clean water as long as those sources exist. The filters last for thousands of gallons before needing replacement, and I've got backup filter elements stored away. I've tested this system with rainwater collected from my roof and with creek water. The filtered result is clear, tastes clean, and I have complete confidence in its safety. This isn't just theory. I've actually used this water for drinking and cooking. For backup, I also have purification tablets, portable filters, and even the knowledge of how to purify water through boiling if necessary. Redundancy is key. If the Berkey failed somehow, I have other options. But the Berkey is my primary system because it's reliable, requires no power, and produces large quantities of clean water. Now let's talk about power, because water purification might not need electricity, but other aspects of emergency living do. I'm in the process of incorporating solar energy solutions into this preparedness plan. The goal isn't to power my entire house. That would require a massive investment. Instead, I'm focusing on minimal power needs for critical items. A solar generator setup can run small appliances, a fan for air circulation and extreme heat, LED lighting for visibility at night, charging stations for batteries and communication devices, and even a small refrigeration unit if needed for medications or fresh food. The beauty of solar is that it's renewable. Once you have the panels and generator, you have power as long as the sun rises. No fuel to store, no resupply needed, no running out of gas for a traditional generator. I'm looking at modest systems, maybe 1,000 watts of capacity, which is enough for essential needs without breaking the bank. The panels mount on the roof or can be portable for positioning in optimal sunlight. The generator stores that energy for use anytime, day or night. This addresses one of the biggest challenges in extended emergencies: maintaining basic quality of life. Without power, you're living like it's the 1800s. With minimal solar power, you have light, communication capability, and comfort that makes a huge difference mentally and physically over months or years. Here's the reality that drove all of this preparation: the pandemic. We all lived through it. We all saw what happened when supply chains broke down. Grocery stores with empty shelves, people fighting over toilet paper, uncertainty about when things would return to normal. For me, that was the wake-up call. I'd always thought about emergency preparedness in abstract terms: hurricanes, earthquakes, theoretical disasters, but the pandemic made it real. It showed that disruptions can happen anywhere, anytime, and last far longer than anyone expects. The mindset shift was profound. It's not about if an emergency happens, it's about when, and it's about what kind of emergency, because there are dozens of scenarios that could interrupt your access to food, water, and basic supplies. Economic collapse, natural disasters, pandemics, infrastructure failures, civil unrest, the list goes on. Being prepared isn't paranoia, it's practical wisdom. It's taking responsibility for your family's well-being instead of assuming someone else will take care of you. When crisis hits, government response is often slow or overwhelmed, stores run out of stock, services fail. The people who thrive are the ones who prepared in advance. This pantry represents peace of mind. Every time I walk past this room, I know that no matter what happens in the world outside, my family has food, water, medical supplies, and the basics we need. That psychological security is invaluable. But here's what most preppers forget, and this is the critical supply I promise to reveal: community. You can have the best stocked pantry in the world, but if you're isolated and alone, your chances of long-term survival decrease dramatically. Humans survive for thousands of years because we work together, share resources, and support each other. The one supply you need that can't be stored in a container is relationships with neighbors, friends, and family who are also prepared and willing to help. Pool knowledge, share skills, create mutual aid agreements. Your neighbor might have medical training while you have food. Your friend might have mechanical skills while you have water purification. Together, you're all stronger. I'm not suggesting you broadcast your preparations to everyone. Operational security matters. But identify a small circle of trusted people and coordinate. Have conversations now before emergency strikes. Understand each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Make plans together. That human connection, that community resilience, is the forgotten supply that multiplies the value of everything else in this room. So there you have it, a complete tour of a $5,000 investment in 2 years of survival supplies. We've covered the construction process that created this space, the strategic food storage that provides nutrition and variety, the medical supplies that protect health, the organization systems that enable quick access under stress, and the water purification solutions that provide unlimited clean water. We've talked about solar power for maintaining basic quality of life, and the pandemic mindset shift that makes preparedness a priority. And most importantly, we've discussed the forgotten supply, community and human connection that makes all the difference. If you found this valuable, if it inspired you to take your own preparedness seriously, hit that like button. Subscribe to Essential Pantry for more content on survival, self-sufficiency, and protecting your family's future. And drop a comment below telling me what's the first step you're taking toward building your own emergency supplies. Remember, the best time to prepare was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Don't wait until crisis hits and it's too late. Start small if you need to, but start today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay prepared.